Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Airspeed Reads Naruto video. This one is going to be for volume 28 of the manga, which is titled Homecoming. And this is obviously the start of Naruto Part 2, the Shippuden stuff from the anime, and basically the entire rest of the series, basically. So, yeah, really excellent way to start it off, obviously, straight away getting introduced, the new character designs, the fact that I'm now doing the rest of them with these individual volumes rather than the 3-in-1s. And I really like the cover for this volume 28. Just straight away, we know what Sakura's new design is, Naruto's new design, and Kakashi's there because obviously this is the new Team 7. They're kind of equals now, and it's a really nice moment when Kakashi makes that statement that they are more equals now rather than him absolutely being the team leader and them being his subordinates, basically. So very nice cover. We cover another 9 chapters here. 245 to 253, Homecoming, My How They've Grown, Intruders in the Sand strike back, the Kazakage stands tall, New Squad First Mission, To the Sand, Feelings Run Wild, and Reinforcements. So yeah, it starts off really nicely because you have this 2-year time gap that that Naruto's been away from. So straight away, him returning, you get him just seeing how everyone reacts to Naruto now that he's older now. Personality a little bit different, looks different, obviously, of course, and is more skilled and has matured, of course. And then just a little funny moments of just as he interacts with everyone else now that they're older and stuff like that. So the first couple of chapters of being quite introductory are just very fun as he all these characters see him older now, and then you transition into the bell test, and all the references back to early stuff from part 1 are so nicely done here as they win at the bell test this time out. And then you kind of go into the Gaara focused side of things, and we find out what happens there, and then that leads to Naruto and Ko being sent off, of course, to basically investigate the whole Gaara kidnapping. So it just starts things off really well and really highlights the plot becoming much more detailed than part 1. The part 1 stuff is good, don't get me wrong. I like the focus and the kind of simplicity of most of the plots there, in terms of just like, Land of Waves arc, tuning exams, and then it becomes more of a kind of political thing. But then the rest of the series is quite basic. By the end of the tuning exams, you're just into Sasuke leaving, the Sasuke retrieval mission, Naruto versus Sasuke. None of the plots have been overly complicated, really. But the Akatsuki suddenly coming into things makes things a lot more interesting with regards to the details, and that they're after the tailed beasts, and revealing us information about Naruto is considered a Jinchuriki. That's mentioned for the first time here. The sand spirit inside of Gaara, Shukaku, is revealed to be a tailed beast, the One Tails. All this sort of stuff is really interesting how they're connecting all these things, and what exactly do they want them for. And you have the ongoing lingering plot points from part 1 of Sasuke. They've got about a year and a bit before Orochimaru will try and take over his body, so there's a time limit on they need to get ready and go after and find Sasuke before then. And Itachi is obviously part of the Akatsuki, and they know they're going to come into contact with him, and it's just all set up really nicely. But I do want to comment before I get into a lot of the specifics here on the difference between how the anime starts part 2 versus how the manga starts part 2. So the anime starts Shippuden after about 80 episodes of filler at the end of the original Naruto stuff. So we get the Naruto-Sasuke fight, and we immediately from there transition into 80 episodes of filler, basically. Naruto returns to the village, we get a bunch of different missions that he goes on with a variety of the other teams, and then after that we go into Shippuden. But when we go into Shippuden, we actually start off with a kind of tease of the future of Shippuden, with basically this kind of hot opening of Naruto, Sakura, and these 2 other characters we don't know of at that point in time, running through these corridors, screaming about Sasuke, come out into the open, and he's there. And you end just before this big conflict with Sasuke is about to happen. So you go then back to the start of part 2, knowing that it's ultimately going to lead to the first really big moment of like meeting Sasuke again. Whereas here, we just start part two. And it's really cool that the anime was able to do that because they had that kind of buffer period of like 80 filler episodes to basically prepare for what was going to happen in Shippuden, so they could start off with a kind of preview of the big thing and then start the shorter stuff. So that's a kind of bonus that the anime had to kind of tease something so big, whereas here they just have to start off with Naruto returning to the village. So let's get into it now. And immediately, just first page, I just notice immediately, just with these the actual book itself, the pages, the quality of the pages, the color of the pages, and type of paper used, so much better in these individual volumes than the 3-in-1s. The 3-in-1s is kind of like just slightly better paper than kind of newspaper quality paper. Here, it just feels like a book, and you know, the fact that the paper it's printed on is more white than the other paper just makes the art stand out a lot more. And then the quality of the art is just so clean as well. Like, I'd really like to know, I didn't check this up, actually, I probably should have, but like, was there actually, while Naruto was coming out weekly, was there any sort of a break between the end of part one and the start of this? Because it almost feels like he's had a break or time to prepare and just put 100% into the start of this part two stuff, because the art is so well done and clean. And then like second and third pages, amazing double page spread of the Leaf Village as Naruto returns, which just this double page spread I think highlights the key thing with the art, that the difference between the early art in Naruto versus where it is right now. We had a more or less a similar shot of the Leaf Village back in part one early on, but it was all tried to be crammed into one panel at the top of one page, and it was so like crushed together that there was just no space to get a sense of what the village really looks like. It made the village look super cramped, whereas here you can still see very clearly that the village it's quite like high rise, and you know, the streets are kind of quite narrow, but there's enough space that you get a sense of how big it is, and that it is still a big city and stuff like that. So I think it's just really good art, and then you get a full, really clean look at Naruto, what his new design looks like now, and it's just really cool to see the new outfit he's wearing, and that he is much taller and stuff like that. And then after that, basically, we just get introduced to him back to Kakashi. Kakashi and Jiraiya talk about how, like, I brought him back for you, like I said, it's now up to you, I'm going to leave off to investigate the Akatsuki once again. And, you know, he comes back a little bit later on to kind of give Naruto some final parting words about don't use that jutsu, and I'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. But for the most part, you know, Jiraiya kind of leaves after this point. Like, he's trained Naruto, and now it's up to Kakashi to be a kind of mentor to him once again. And Naruto, of course, gives Kakashi the Makeout Tactics book, the advanced copy, and it's a huge thing, just showing how much Naruto knows Kakashi, that he likes this book series, and his master Jiraiya is the writer of that series, so that's quite nice. And how it comes back later on, and then the meeting once again of Naruto and and Sakura is really nicely done. Just how, I suppose, the introduction to Sakura's new design, and kind of how they're both a little bit awkward around each other at first, because Naruto doesn't really notice like how different Sakura is, but like I think is aware based on his first reaction that he's kind of like a little bit speechless, like, really, Sakura, is that you? But then later on she notes that, like, you know, you almost didn't recognize you, you know, we've both really grown, huh? And she's the one who's kind of awkward about the situation, and that she's kind of like, will he notice how mature I am now and how much older I am? And she's just happy to see him again. It just really highlights their friendship, and it's really nicely done for me. And how that really nice moment of her thinking he's so mature now, and that, like, he mentions, you know, Konoha, I'm not a kid anymore, you gotta work another jutsu, and she thinks it's like, oh, he's really grown in this time away, but then he just reveals another pervy jutsu, and she punches him again, and it starts a kind of the new kind of ongoing comedic thing between Naruto and Sakura, in that she now punches him when he does stuff wrong, whereas before she didn't really tend to be overly physical, but now she has that like super physical side to her, that we didn't really see before, and we immediately get a test for our characters in that we get a bell test. Naruto and Sakura are going to do the bell test again. The exact same rules as from part 1, but obviously they're more powerful now. And it's a really great callback, as, just before it starts, they note that, it's so nostalgic, but when we first did it, it was back when we had Sasuke, and it's the first mention of Sasuke in part 2, and it makes Naruto and Sakura feel sad that he's not there, but they immediately kind of snap out of it and are set on passing the test. And I just love how they both demonstrate their powers. Naruto with just the smooth transition between his jutsu as he does a shadow clone to do a mid-air dodge, and then immediately transitions one of his shadow clones and transforms it into a giant shuriken and kind of gets the advantage over Kakashi, but Kakashi still dodges out of it because he has the Sharingan. And then when Kakashi disappears, Sakura just explodes the ground with a punch, revealing her super strength, and it's just a really big moment. Especially Sakura's reveal that she doesn't just know medical ninjutsu now, that she also has this insane super strength like Tsunade. It's a really big deal, and everyone's impressed by it. And they eventually do manage to get the bells off Kakashi by using his weakness. That being that he hasn't read the new Ichiraku. Did I just say that? The new Ichiraku Ramen book. No, the new Meike Tactics book. And Naruto basically is about to say it, and that causes Kakashi to put his hands over his ears to basically block what Naruto is saying. But because he has his Sharingan active the whole time, he can still lip read Naruto when what he's saying, so he has to shut his eyes. And the two of them use that distraction to get the bells off Kakashi. Really clever way to win without them having to physically defeat Kakashi and kind of make it out that they're kind of stronger than him. It still puts it on the level where it was kind of a stalemate up until they kind of cleverly found a way to get the bells. So it's a really nicely done thing there. And then after that, they do meet Shikamaru and Tamari back in the Leaf Village, and it's revealed that everyone is a Chunin now, but Kankuro, Tamari, and Neji are Jonin, and Naruto is actually the only one of their kind of group around that age who isn't even a Chunin. He's still a Genin, of course, because he was away the whole time. So that kind of puts him a little bit down in the dumps, and then they just leave us off with his reaction to finding out that Gaara is the new Kazakage in the Sand Village. So that's a pretty big reveal, in that it's basically just what about Gaara, and you turn the page and you get the kind of reveal of someone coming up to Gaara and saying Lord Kazakage, and there he is. Huge moment to see this character have grown so much and have such a grand development basically over these past 2 years, just basically because of meeting Naruto. That's the impact that it's had on him. And the other moment here is, of course, the little tease of Shikamaru and Tamari being around each other so much. Are they on a date? And just setting up that they're both not saying anything, but they are quite close, though they haven't fully officially become a couple. After that we are properly introduced to Gaara as the Kazakage, that the Sand is doing quite well in the immediate years after the kind of whole Orochimaru attack thing. And they're finally getting back on track, basically on the level of the other nations and villages, and they're feeling strong again under Gaara's leadership. And but they're expecting an attack from the Akatsuki, and it comes immediately. And this is what makes this volume so good. We are straight away into the action and introduced to two really interesting villains in the Akatsuki members, Deidara and Sasori. Obviously Deidara, the explosion style user who uses it with kind of detonating clay to create artistic explosions, and then Sasori we don't find out a lot about right now, except that he's nicknamed Sasori of the Red Sand, and he has a history with the Sand Village, and he left 20 years ago and hasn't come back since. And also he is the creator of the puppets that Kankuro uses, so he's the original creator of those designs. So that's a pretty big deal about, he is a puppet master too. So you present all these different things in this kind of more Sand Village focused arc, and now suddenly the puppets, which we associate with the sand, we're getting a kind of origin story on them with this Sasori guy who seems to have elements of puppetry to him with his kind of stinger tail thing and the whole poison that he seems to have going on here. And then especially later on where you sort of make the connection with Granny Chio and her mentioning like her grandson and son, what happened there, and the history basically. I really like the history they're presenting here of that Granny Chiho knows about Tsunade and disrespects bonds between villages because she believes that all the villages should be doing stuff on their own, and so on. It just comes together really nicely here because you're presenting all this kind of generational type stuff that like Jiraiya is training Naruto, Tsunade is training Sakura, Kankuro is the next in line to be the puppet master, and all this other sort of stuff. The young Kazakage, Gaara, is the new leader, and that sort of stuff. So works really well, and especially once the like attack commences and you find out basically that they are after Shukaku, the sand spirit inside Gaara, and you get the reveal that Shukaku is a tailed beast, and that people who have a tailed beast within them are called Jinchuriki hosts. And you're finding out all these details that, like, no, these are things. This is an actual fairly common occurrence, that Naruto is not actually super unique because he has a monster inside him. It is a thing that happens to other people. And I like that you get that scene of Naruto on the way to the village, where it's a really serious scene, but it works so well because you get the reactions of characters like Tamari, Kakashi, and also Sakura to this, and that basically Naruto reveals to Sakura for the first time that he has the nine-tailed fox inside him, and he's much more open about that now around the people around him, whereas he kept it a secret before. And you get the sense that Sakura is aware of this, and I think the key thing here is just Tamari and Sakura both hadn't really thought about how Naruto and Gaara felt being that way. The way he talks about it, it's awful. They only see us as monsters. I don't like the way they look at us. We're carrying monsters inside our bodies. Gaara and I had the same kind of lonely life, but it was even worse for him. And especially seeing Tamari kind of hear this and just have no response to it, that you get the sense that what they're going for kind of is that she kind of feels that maybe she should have tried a little harder when Gaara was young to interact more with him and kind of be aware that he was lonely growing up, and he wasn't just this kind of bloodthirsty monster, that something made him that way, and that she could have had an effect on him because Naruto was the one who brought him back from that has basically given her brother back to him. It's all because of Naruto. She potentially could have been the one to do that earlier on if she had kind of seen more about what he was actually going through. And it's similar, I suppose, with Sakura, in that she's aware that this is her moment of kind of realizing that what Sasuke said to her back in like volume 1 about the whole idea of you don't know what true solitude is, and how he kind of defended Naruto at that point in time, and her kind of making those kind of rude comments about Naruto not having parents, she now fully understands kind of what it was like for Naruto growing up, and has a greater respect for him because he's so confident and aware of what he wants to do about that now, because he speaks so kind of honestly about it, and he says, I'm not going to calm down because I need to help Gaara, because people like us need someone to look after each other and that sort of thing. So it just establishes that connection, and it's so important for Naruto to save Gaara, especially knowing now that Gaara has fulfilled his dream, and he wants it so that they can both be Kages together. So you can see Naruto's determination to save someone that is so similar to himself, and it's a really, really big moment for sure. Obviously, Kankuro, defeated much earlier on, really ease by Sasori, defeats Kankuro, poisons him, which sets up Sakura arriving at the Sand Village and demonstrating her amazing healing abilities by taking the poison out of him, taking command of the situation on the medical table, and proving to Granny Chiho that there are a lot of good young kind of ninjas out there in the other villages, and perhaps helping each other, support between the villages can actually work, because that's her whole thing. Granny Chiho and Ebizo They're kind of very much stuck in the old ways of just the sand, so just stay to the sand. We should only use the stuff that helps ourselves. But then she sees that they don't have the medical expertise that the Leaf Village has, and especially the little moment with Kakashi where she's about to kill him because apparently Kakashi's father killed her son or something like that. I think that's the implication. I seem to remember that happening, but then it's just revealed that, oh no, that's just his son, and she kind of calms down. But reveals that she still has quite a bit of speed and can be quite powerful. So a little setup for Granny Chiho as well. And then the volume basically just ends with Tsunade sending out backup to help Kakashi and Co. She sends out Guy's team, so we get our first look at Tenten, Neji, Rock Lee, and Guy post time skip. Guy looks the same, but the others have new designs. I actually really like Tenten's new design. I think her outfit's actually really nice. And then Lee with the flak jacket now for the tuning, and Joni Neji looking very kind of cool as well. So they're out to help as well. So it's we're going to have a lot of people in play here when it comes to the battle against Sasori and Deidara. So really cool stuff overall. Final few things I would just want to mention are that Jiraiya says something to Naruto just before he leaves. Basically, whatever you do, no matter how angry you get, don't use that jutsu. We never get it revealed to us, I think in like the entire series, what this really is. The implication, I think, is just don't use the Nine Tails mode, especially the higher tailed levels of it, because you can't control it. Or it's either that, or don't try to unlock the seal using the sealing jutsu, because you can't control it just yet. It's either one of those two, because other than that, like, Jiraiya doesn't really teach Naruto any new, like, fighting techniques all that much during their training together, so it has to be one of those two things about something about the Nine Tails, setting up, I suppose, what happens in a couple of volumes. The other thing is that Kakashi does mention that he invented the new jutsu, which is, I suppose, set up for the Mangekyo Sharingan reveal with him, and I think that's about it. Oh, there is the flashback scene. I have to mention this. I nearly forgot about it. I can't believe that. One of my favorite flashback scenes in probably all of Naruto, the reveal about why Gaara wanted to be the Kazakage in the first place and the impact that Naruto had on him. He talks to Kankuro about it, basically, in response to Kankuro asking, why are you going out to join the kind of standard, like, shinobi army type situation? You're kind of special. Like, if you go into teams with them, they'll treat you poorly because they know your reputation. But he just says, I don't care. Doing nothing will only bring even greater pain. I know what I must do, Kankuro. I must clear my own path. Perhaps then someday I can be like him. I will aim for the title of Kazakage as a shinobi of the sand. I will connect to the people of this village and survive. I want to work hard and become someone others acknowledge and respect. That's what I decided after watching Uzumaki Naruto. Until I met him, ties to others only ever brought me pain and sorrow. But he kept asking, kept pushing me to redefine those ties. And now finally I think I'm beginning to understand. To share one's feelings with others isn't weakness, it's strength. That's what Uzumaki Naruto taught me when we fought. We connected. He's experienced pain as I have, but he never let it beat him. His example has shown me I could change my life, my destiny. One day I'd like to become something precious to others too, and not as some sort of weapon of terror, but as Kazakage. Wonderful speech showing the growth of Gaara as a character and the impact that Naruto had on him, because really, apart from like him being kind of a bit afraid of Naruto towards the end of their fight and mentioning a little hint about it when he meets up with Rock Lee again towards the end, we never really got the ultimate impact that Naruto had on Gaara, but now we do, that it's inspired him, like especially what he talks about here with Naruto has taught him to redefine how he kind of views his bonds with others. That's a really kind of big thing that he had always said, I will only ever fight for myself, that love, he had the whole love carved into his, love symbol carved into his forehead because he rejected it, but now it's more that he actually accepts it, he embraces love and the bonds with people, and that's why he protects the village so carefully here and puts himself at risk even to help the village against Deidara. So Really great development for Gaara. I think it works a little bit better in the anime because you have a transition moment in the filler episodes towards the end. You have an arc with the Sand siblings that goes into a little bit of depth in terms of explaining Gaara's time as a kind of Jonin, just as part of the normal Sand Village, and him getting the respect of the people around him and his peers. Basically, it is effectively getting that flashback moment, but in the present day, back when it was actually happening towards the end of the filler arc just before this. So I actually really like that episode because I think it includes that flashback, which they had obviously because it was just before this and they already knew that was going to happen. So the anime, I think, just as a nice transition moment works, because the problem right now with the manga is that, as I said, you don't really have a lot of context for why Gaara has like changed so suddenly, because he just kind of disappeared and like showed a little bit of growth towards the end of the fight with Naruto afterwards, and when like Tamari and Kankuro took him away and he was kind of accepting them as his like siblings again. But really, with the thing with Gaara, he never really showed, with Rock Lee and Gaara against Kimimaru, never really highlighted that Naruto had changed Gaara as completely as the scene, the flashback pages in this book like suggest. In that scene, it's kind of just like he mentions, like, I'm here to help Naruto, but that's really about it. The scene overall is more focused on kind of like Tamari kind of helping Shikamaru and just the Sand siblings in general helping the Leaf Village more so than anything. But I think that's realistically about all I wanted to talk about in terms of specifics. Overall, great kind of first volume to start off part two. A lot of detailed stuff going on here, plot, character, and it's just overall presenting a very interesting story. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this volume, on this review, and so on. And I'll just end by saying, if you want to help support the channel, you can do so in multiple ways. There is my Patreon page, which is linked in the description below. You can support me on there, become a patron, and get rewards basically as well. There's also, for a one-off donation, a PayPal donation link, and you can donate there if you wish, also linked in the description below. But other than that, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.